Good morning, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and I hope you're ready for this new week. I'm Melissa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials, and today we're going to just talk about your weekend rhythm. And it's probably not going to be a long video today. I think that weekend rhythm is an important thing, and get a lot of emails usually on Sunday night like, I'm freaking out. This went horribly awry, and really often it comes down to the fact that you forgot that even though it was Saturday and Sunday, that rhythm was tied to you, and really that's a concept that I know a lot of moms are like, oh, but I'm exhausted, and why does it always have to be tied to me? It just does. It is. It's kind of one of those like laws of the universe. It's tied to you. If you're doing great, everything's going to flow well in your house. If you're doing good, it'll flow good in your house. If you're doing poorly, it's going to all be in the crapper. So you've got to really keep that in mind. That doesn't mean that you don't get a day off. You just need to plan for it, plan it a little bit ahead, and be on a good page with your partner so that you can say, hey, what if we split up Saturday and Sunday? You sleep on one day and I sleep on one day, and which is totally fair. Totally fair. And with that, you have to be okay with how dad holds the space. So that might mean cereal and cartoons, or whatever it means in your house. If you are in a good spot with dad and you guys both agree on the same things, then it could be great. I know here Eric would take them for a walk, and he does that. If I need some extra sleep or I need to take a nap, he'll take them for a walk, or there'll be sparkle stories on. They'll make a snack together. So think about those sorts of things. And on your weekend days, so when Eric was still working outside the house before he came home to work with us, we would have a conversation. So what do you want to get done this weekend? And this would be like Thursday. What is it? What aspirations do you have? Did you just want to rest? Did you we've got that lawn that needs to be mowed. We've got these chores that need to be done, stuff around the house. Like, when do you want to do that? Do you want to do that Saturday? Do you want to be at Home Depot when they open? Those sorts of things. Have those conversations so you're not having them Saturday morning and you're scrambling. That will cut down a huge amount on things. Jennifer says dad does things differently, and that's okay. Yes, it is. We want to encourage dads to hold the space their way, and as long as their way is not listening to explicit rap and watching rated R movies, then I think you really gotta let dad hold the space his way, even if it's not the way you would hold the space. And so you got to compromise because you need him to make a good, tight bond with those kids. They're his kids too. And it's so important for him to be able to make that bond. And that is just, you're just going to have to let go of some things. Hopefully you and dad can get on the same page enough that him holding the space is not going to seriously offend you. and that's sort of something that comes from really working together over time. So I can't recommend our Thrive program enough. It is available if you're part of Thinking, Feeling, Willing for free. It's part of the mom lessons, but it is an amazing program, and it really helps you get on the same page. And actually, Eric and I have this big thing that we're going to be launching later about parents who thrive. So, but not later today. Later. We're working on it. So anyway, it's really about sort of being together. And so like I said, as you're approaching the weekend, that's when you start asking the questions. Is there something that you really want to get done this weekend? Maybe he decided he wanted to go to a comic book store, or to the races, or to a football game, and you weren't privy to it, but he was thinking about it. But because you guys sometimes ships in the night because he's working and you're working at home with kids, then maybe he just forgot to mention, hey, I'd really like to go do this. So by you bringing it up, making that part of your Thursday or even Friday morning routine, then and you get a say in, hey, that means I probably should get us a sitter. If you want to go out, I'll get us a sitter. And so then that brings me to date night needs to be an important time, a really important time. You need to really work on having dates with your partner. Time out together, and it doesn't have to be a really long thing. In fact, it's always really hard when I know families wait like 2 months before they have a date, and then they feel like they got to be out for 6 hours. If you can go on a date every week, um, seriously, we're talking about 2 hours. And sometimes that date is kids are in bed and you're together on the couch. That's totally fine. But it's you time. It's not, he's not gaming, you're not knitting, you're talking to each other, you're sitting together, you're watching a movie that you chose together, or whatever it is. Maybe you're having some great intimate time together because you really needed that alone time. Whatever it is planned. It's a planned thing, and your marriage will improve like tenfold just from that alone, just from having that alone time. So really working towards having that time. So it's got to be part of your plan though. So again, make sure that by about Thursday, you're asking, what is it that you want to do this weekend? Or you're looking at your calendar and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that the Lemon Festival was this weekend, or the Blueberry Festival was this weekend, or Grandma asked us to come over for dinner. You want to make sure that you're looking at it so that you don't have that chaos. So beyond that, like knowing what's going on, what else should you be thinking of? You really need to keep your anchor points for the weekend. Here, the anchor points are always food-based. Food and sleep are the important things when you've got little kids. And even when you've got teenagers, I find that Eleanor is so busy. She's 16. She's gone a lot. And so Denise says lemons. Yes, we live near, there's a lot of lemons that are grown in Southern California. We grow everything here. Did you know that? So there's lots of festivals like that. But with regards like with teenagers, you've got to stop them and make sure, like I'll go to Eleanor, what did you eat today? Twix bar is not a meal. Ice cream is not a meal, because she's gone a lot. And even though she had this really good upbringing, when they're teenagers, they sort of think they can do whatever they want to their bodies. And so she does that, like whatever they want. So I'll ask her. And so you have to ask. So once they're out of sight and they're not, even I think when they're in their 20s, I always ask Carrie, we get mission emails on Mondays. I'm like, so how have you been eating this week? He's like, Mother, I've been eating fine. Because they get fed a lot on his mission by members. And so at least I know he's getting a good meal a few nights a week. But really, food is a huge anchor point. So make sure that you're getting really good, really good meals in on the weekends, just like you would during the week. And also make sure your bedtimes, your sleeping and your waking times are about the same. So you're not trying to start over on Monday. What if hubby loves to say, I don't know, let's play it by ear and hang out. You got to tell him, hey, did you really like how that went last weekend when we played it by ear and hung out? Because I didn't like it. I didn't like the yelling. I didn't like the fight we got into. And I certainly didn't like the fact that we had to really discipline children. That's what I would say. I would be really open and honest and say, how's that going for us? Because it's really not. And there's nothing wrong with hanging out. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong. But you in your mind then have to be like, all right, I got to make sure that I got the sparkle stories queued up and make sure they got plenty of things to draw, because that's your cue to go, okay, well, that means I need to make sure that the kids are busy. Or I need to make sure that I've got a couple of walks planned in there, or that I'm going to sit outside in the backyard with them. And that's okay. That's okay. It's totally fine to have a chill weekend. Love chill weekends. Love it. But make sure that that you have in your head what's going to happen. Because if you don't think that anything's going to happen, then it's all going to fall apart. Jennifer says, teens and food, you're right. I always have to make sure my teens eat protein. They'll start feeling weak and jittery, and I know haven't been eating real food. Yes, real food. I'm like, what did you eat? She's like, I had Pringles today. I'm like, seriously? What? Get up here and eat some food. I'm making you some eggs right now. No, so it's and it's tough, especially if you have teens that have gone through some food issues, to have those conversations. We've had some struggles because of some things that she's been through, and so that's definitely something that I have to be careful about. Like, we need to talk about eating, but she knows that I'm going to ask her, and so that's super helpful that she knows. Like I've always said, I'm going to ask. So you're going to have to be okay with me asking and not roll your eyes at me, because we're going to have this conversation. Becca says, what if hubby wants to go, and it's an anchor time like lunch or nap? I usually volunteer to stay home, let him go to burn off that steam, but I feel a bit of cabin fever. Well, I would seriously have the conversation like, honey, we can do these two things, or we can do all of these things, but we have to stop and eat. So where do you want to eat lunch? Or can I pack us a lunch? Because and if it's during a nap time, offer to stay in the car and settle kids down with a sparkle story or nursing them in the car and take a nap. I think that it's definitely important that you're together on the weekend, especially if he works a ton of hours and you don't get to see him a lot during the week. Super important that you're together. But I think that and quite frankly, he needs to get it. He needs to get it that like, oh yeah, I'm a dad, not just a man. And because I'm a dad, I have to pay attention to naps. I have to pay attention to meal times. And I have to remember that my wife pays attention to that all week long while I'm gone at work being a man and she's at home being a mom. So you got to help him remember that he has two hats and that on the weekend he has to wear that hat with like, oh, courtesy. Oh yeah, my kids need to eat. And with that, you know that if he wants to go and go and go, you better pack lots of snacks. You better make sure that you have, like I said, some stuff to do in the car. So that's okay. Definitely do that. And have fun doing that and do things like that together. But you got to plan for it. And definitely it comes down to you. So I'm getting ready to leave for two separate trips, one this week and then one the next week. And so Eric's, we spent yesterday making sure school was all planned and making sure it was all laid out. And he's really good at making sure he packs stuff for places, but he's thinking in his head, what do I need to get at the store? Because I know it's all going to be on me. And so when he knows that, then he's like, yes, of course, I'm ready to rise. I'm ready right here. In fact, even when I don't say anything to him about it, like, hey, we're going to go on a road trip, he's like, all right, where's the snacks? Because he knows that we need them. He's been conditioned all these years that he's been at home to know that we need to make sure that we're paying attention to when kids need to eat and when kids are tired. So that does, like I said, it doesn't mean that you don't do those things with him, Becca. It just means that you need to plan for it and you need to say, all right, so you want to be out and you realize it's going to be during lunchtime and we'd really like to be with you. Where are we eating? Or do I need to pack something? And then plan it out. Decide where you're eating. I mean, one of the things about living a non-fast food life is you really have to think more, more consciously about where you're eating. There are some okay fast food options, but there aren't many. So you have to think about, all right, well, where we're going to be. He wants to be over here at this Home Depot, and I know that over there's an El Pollo Loco, or there's a Del Taco, or there's a great vegan burger place, or, whatever. Looking at those things so that you're both aware. I think it's immensely important. So I think that if you can really pay attention to your weekends in those ways and realize that they're not 2 days off, guys. I know it's really hard when I say this, but there are no days off unless somebody is completely caring for them and they're not home with you. There are not days off. And that's really hard. So you have to make sure that your self-care is in a good place. And that self-care does mean that sometimes you need to be able to say, I need my mother or my mother-in-law or this great friend of mine to come and spend the night with these children, and I'm going to go somewhere else. You've got to get yourself in a spot where you have people like that in your life. And I know that, I've been an attached parent for many years, and there's this attachment parenting lie that goes around that, oh, we have to be with them 24/7. And it's a lie. And nowhere does it say that in the attachment and the AP International, bylaws thing, or goals, or whatever they're called, mission statement. It doesn't say that. That's something that attached moms have done to themselves, that I have to be, attached means I got to be touching this kid 24/7. No, it does not. In fact, I think that that's probably almost opposite of what an attached mom should be. An attached mom should be attached emotionally enough and give their kids enough emotional stability that they're okay stepping away. They feel good stepping away because they know you'll come back. When we create this situation where they're touched and stuck to us all the time, and they feel our anxiousness about being stuck to us all the time, then they have the anxiety about leaving. When we are giving them space to step away and space to be with grandma, space to be with this friend that wants to help us so that we can have some time away, that gives them courage. That gives them confidence. That gives them, yes, they might miss you, and it's okay that they miss you, but they know you're coming back. And that, I think, is supremely important in raising healthy children that understand boundaries, that understand love, like really understand love. Not codependent, you're going to fall apart and die love, but real love. Love meaning what comes from your heart and what we foster and what we want them to then go and do later on. So if you're sort of stuck in this place like, oh man, I've really sort of created this relationship where I can't ever be away from this child, and your child is 6 or 7, I'm telling you, you've got to work on it now. And if you need help working on that, please feel free to drop me a note. Denise says, at what age would you say an overnight is okay? My parents are awesome in watching kids overnight, but not usually until they sleep in their own beds and are weaned. I think that's a hard one. If they're not weaned in the night, so for a lot of us that's like 2 years old. I think 2 years old is probably an okay time to step away overnight. Maybe one night, for sure. But until they've been weaned for a while, and they are okay going to bed without nursing. And I'm saying night weaned, not necessarily weaned. But until they're night weaned, it's not going to be possible for you to be away. It is absolutely possible, though, especially if you've got a really small infant, or an infant that's under a year that sleeps okay with you, for your parents to come and take the other kids, and you take the infant with you to some hotel. I have done that a lot of times. Denise says, I waited until almost through with the other two. Yeah, I think it depends on where you're at with the night weaning thing. I ended up night weaning all of mine right between 18 months and 2 years, just night weaning, just so that we could all get some sleep. Because there's this thing that happens, and I was a lactation counselor in my former life, so I'm not just pulling this out of the air, but there's this thing that tends to happen. They might nurse really well and sleep really well, and then there's this thing that happens between about 15 and 18 months where they're like, oh no, there's something going to happen to the boob, so I need to make sure I nurse all night long. And then you're exhausted, and you're like more exhausted than you were when they were newborns, because all they're doing is nursing all night long. And so that's your cue that you need to start sort of pulling away a bit. And there is nothing wrong with that. Once they can understand daylight and nighttime, that's when I go, when the sun's up, we're going to have num-nums. When the sun's down, we're going to have one before bed, and then we'll nurse in the morning when the sun comes up again. And when they understand that, and you can get them in the, so I would spend a few nights looking at, oh, look, the sun is up. Oh, look, the sun is down. And you can do it in a very story-like way. Grandfather's son has gone away for the day. Look at that. Look how pretty the sky is. And you can say these things to a very young child. Now, you don't want to do any over-explanation at all, but you definitely want to acknowledge sun up, sun down, morning, nighttime, and that helps a ton. Ours still haven't spent the night away from us at almost 5 and 2, but it has more to do with distance from family. Yeah, so I would start to, I think that one of the things that was a blessing to me when I was a single mom and the years before I was a single mom was that I had a good friend that I trusted. And so if you don't have a good friend that you trust, now's like the time to cultivate that and really work on it. I have close friends now that if I had to go away for some, if I had to have a hospital stay or anything like that, that I know that they could step in and my kids would go with them with no problem. I mean, now I wouldn't have to worry about that because I've got bigger kids that could come and step in. But definitely work to cultivate relationships with people that you trust. And I know that's a hard one, but definitely it helps you so much. And if it's somebody that's a friend that maybe has kids of their own, offer to trade. I did a lot of trading with my friend that I had years ago. She would go on dates and bring her kids to me, and then I would go on dates and do the same. So Jessica says, we wait until night weaning, still nurse during the day for a long time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I nursed most of mine during the day until 4 or 5. And so, but in the night weaning thing, once I figured out, once I figured out after the second child that the things that I had read were true, I absolutely was like, okay, we are figuring out this night weaning thing, because if you don't, it's really hard. It's really hard on you. And if you're trying to get pregnant and have another baby, or if you are pregnant and night nursing a toddler, oh, I love you. I feel so sorry for you. You have my hope and my sympathies. It's hard. It's hard. Night weaning is a hard task, but it usually doesn't take very long. Like once I realized it only takes a few days, it really is. And if you can get dad on board and get help, then definitely, definitely when it's time, and you'll know when it's time. You'll know when it's time because you're so exhausted you can hardly keep your eyes open because they've been nursing all night long, and that's not. It's a pattern. It's like it's something that's just it's all of a sudden. So let's see, Jessica says, we've never ever lived near family, but we did have a great church community to support with similar parenting styles. Yes, yes, yes. I think that is super important. It is really important that you get at least one a year, at least one overnight a year. Eric and I have been planning ours. Our anniversary is coming up, and so we've been thinking about, ours. But yes, you definitely need to spend that away. And like I said, even if it's just one night, I mean, think realistically. You can check into a hotel usually at 3, and you have to check out by 11. So it's really not even 24 hours. But if you can do that, then you get a nice dinner, a nice chunk of intimate time, and you can sleep in a hotel. Yeah, sleep in, both of you, at the same time. And then you leave and go home. So it's really, we're not talking about this huge chunk of days and days and days. Although I know families that do it, for sure. And they're attached families that go, all right, well, once a year grandma comes and dad and I leave for 4 days. Because that's something that is in their, and grandma comes on an airplane. Excuse me. That's something that they do regularly. So hopefully that gives you something to think about with regards to making sure that you get the time away. Sounds like a dream, Paula says. I understand. I agree. We've had 2 nights away once, but never more than that. But I do take the kids, and we split them up, and girls now go on a trip, and dad will stay home. It's still not the same. It's still not the same. You want a trip with dad, just alone. We were laughing the other day. I said, hey, it was on Soraya's birthday. I said, 14 more years, and then we can have those days. He started laughing. But, really, I want you to be thinking about your weekends, because it will help you not have that stress about it. So think about your weekend on Thursday so that and this is just all part of planning. And I know that I spend a lot of time talking about planning and rhythm, but, I'm telling you, it sets you free, because when you have that plan in place and you can still fly by the seat of your pants. Don't think that I don't. I've got enough sanguine in me that I'm like, hey, we should go to Disneyland today. My husband's like, okay, let's do that. That happens sometimes at 10 o'clock in the morning. If I had all my stuff done today would be a good day, but I'm traveling tomorrow. Today's not a good day. So think about what you can be doing. And it's, like I said, it's okay to fly by the seat of your pants, and it's okay to just run off and do things. But if you're thinking about in the back of your head, okay, well, that's cool. Let's go run and do that. But it's 2 hours, and then we need to eat some more. Let me grab some snacks really quick and shove them in my bag so that everybody's not hungry in the car. And let me grab some books on tape. And hey, kids, grab a book you want to read. Let's go. Usually if we are going to go on a day trip, I can have us ready in about 10 minutes because I've been doing it for so long. So get your kids in a spot where, like, all I have to say to my kids is, hey, let's go to, and they're like, they're grabbing the backpack and they're ready. I also have, I have a couple of those, like Camel Pack, water, backpacks, and we utilize those all the time. And so, I have to say, be able to fly by the seat of your pants. It's awesome when you do that, but it takes the other part of planning. It takes that knowing where things. That means you got to have food in your cupboard. That means you got to know where you're gonna eat and all of those things. Kelly says we just left for 4 days because we had listened to all these years. Your kids did great. You've got adult kids at home. See, I can't wait. That's one of the things I'm thinking, Harry. I can't wait for you to get home, because even though I don't want you to live with me, I know you could come over and stay with me, my kids, for a few days. Your siblings, he would totally do it. We'll totally do it. So, anyways, all right, very good. So, I think that's all for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And if you need anything, please shoot me a message. And we will see y'all later. Bye now.